We're doing a giveaway today, folks. Stick around to the end of the video, find out more. Welcome back to the channel. Pull up a chair, have a seat. Let's talk about how you make that transition from doing tutorials step by step all the way on everything that you're doing in a carving to actually getting to the point where you can look at a picture on Pinterest or Instagram or Facebook and say, I want to carve that, and then just go sit down and carve it. I'll tell you right now, the way to do that is books, right? You're following tutorials on YouTube and you're following the step-by-step instructions. The easy way to make that transition and make that leap from doing a carving where I'm following step-by-step and figuring out how to do what I see in a picture is a book that gives you a little bit of instruction along the way for how to make those steps. Let's talk first about Sara Barraclough. Sara.
Hi all, greetings from Southern Utah. I am Sara Barraclough, carver of all things cute and sometimes clever. If you are new to carving, welcome. Johnny has some really fun stuff in line for you, so I hope it's great. And yeah, keep carving, keep making chips.
All right, so Sara is fantastic. I'm a big fan of Sara and her carvings. I've followed her on Instagram for a while, and the carvings that she does are just so fun. She's been doing a lot of sea-themed creatures and fish lately and whales, and they're just really cute and really fun, and they're fantastic. I want to talk about her books because we're doing a giveaway on all three of them. WoodCarving Illustrated, Fox Chapel Publishing gave me 3 books to go over the collection with you. I'm going to do a carving today. We're going to carve the tiny woodsman, this little fella right here, and I've got him already completed, as you can see, and we did a fair approximation of this little fella from the book. We were able to recreate him from the instructions that she gives in the book, and they're detailed instructions. She gives instructions on painting, on the whole thing, step by step. And you can follow along right with me if you'd like to. Shrimpy is carved out of a block of wood, 1.5 inches square and 2 inches tall. So we're going to create him out of a block of wood like so, and we're going to do that in the video today. So let's flip the camera around and let's start talking about this in detail. There he is, the tiny woodsman. It's a basswood, 1.5 inch square. We got a 1.5 inch block here, 2.5 inches tall, and this block is 2.5 inches tall. We're going to need a pen or pencil, boiled linseed oil, acrylic paints, clean paper towels, and finish such as Howard's Feed and wax. That's fantastic. And tools you can use: a bandsaw, knives, rough out detail, micro V tool optional. That's probably going to be for the beard here. And then paintbrushes assorted. Okay, so let's look at step 1. Step 1, it shows you here the drawing on the front of the carving with the mustache and the hat and the nose, the feet right there. And it says, draw the guidelines for the hat. The front brim will fall approximately 1/3 of the way down from the top, then angle it down around the sides so that the back of the hat lands halfway down. Make a stop cut at each of the corners and cut up toward the brim to separate the hat from the head. Use a rough out knife, start rounding the corners and shaping the top of the hat. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So I probably need something to hold that book open. We're going to use a second book to hold that book open. So let's take a look here at just, come down about 1/3 of the way. And just kind of bring that brim over. Put a nose right about there. And our guy isn't going to match hers exactly, because just like your carvings don't match exactly with whatever YouTube video you're following, your carving style is absolutely going to come out of whatever carving you do. It's going to show up. Okay, and so that mustache is going to come out like this right here, like so. And then she did draw the top of the mustache in, and she did. It looks like to the bottom line there. I'm going to reread this. The front brim will fall approximately 1/3 of the way down. That's about 1/3 of the way. Then angle it downwards around the sides. The back of the hat lands halfway down. Okay, so we're going to bring it down toward the back here, so it lands about halfway down. Bring that line across, and then bring that hat down like so. Okay, so we're about halfway down in the back, and we're connecting that line with the front like so. And I believe we've got that part done. Make a stop cut at each of the corners and cut upward up toward the brim to separate the hat from the head. Use the rough out knife and start rounding the corners and shaping the top of the hat. Okay. So you can see the step that we're going for right here. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to start trying to bring the sides in and then round out that top to do our first section here. So we'll do a little stop cut. I'm going to start in those corners, like she says, and then carve up to it. Do the same thing in this back corner here. Carve up to it. Hold that thing open. And we'll just go ahead and start doing the steps that she dictates. Right, like so. This is not a difficult step to follow. Seems rather easy. And most of these aren't going to be difficult. The thing about these tutorials that I do, or that are these book tutorials that Sarah's got done, is they're simple projects, easy to do, but it does take a little while to be able to make that logical leap to go from doing something that someone else designed to being able to design something yourself, right? That's what I'm talking about, being able to determine what the next step is for any given project that you're doing, being able to figure out how to get it done by looking at a picture. That will enable you to look at pictures on Instagram or Pinterest or wherever and then say to yourself, I want to carve that. How do I get from here to there? Books are a guide that is going to help you do that. And so as I do this series where I review certain books, so I'm going to do more of these. I'm going to reach out to WoodCarving Illustrated about what books that I can do. I'm going to talk to wood carvers because I don't want to have anyone upset with me for doing a video and talking about their carvings or their videos, because like I'm showing Sarah's book on this, right? Now I did reach out to Sarah. I made her aware of what I was wanting to do and asked her whether or not she'd be okay with it. She said she was, which is, thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I don't think that she's going to have any problem with it, obviously, because I'm touting her stuff. I'm saying that she does a great job and that you should go get these books. So I really didn't think she would have too much of a problem with it. But still, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Where was I at? Okay. So we need to carve the top of that head up. So we're going to bring that up, try to make it like a little hillbilly hat. So let's just start rounding up and in, like so. Let's round up and in on this corner too. And the neat thing about seeing me do this too is if I make a mistake, you're going to see it. And I might make a mistake. I might miss a step, and that's okay. We will save the carving. We will figure out what to do with it if we miss a step. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. It's part of the learning process, you know? Part of the journey that we're all on. Moving right along. I'm just working around this carving. I'm generating a lot of wood chips on the floor here. My wife is going to be very angry with me for how many chips I'm getting on the floor rather than keeping them on the desk. I get the camera a different spot kind of further back so I can have the books out. And that is leaving me in the position of putting a lot of chips all over the place rather than on the desk where they're supposed to go. Because this top part, just doing this is just work. That's a lot of carvings are. You know, you're taking a block and turning it into something. Okay, I gotta take a good look at the top of that. He's lopsided to one side right now, so we definitely need to work on this side over here and bring that in more. A little bit more from the front too. We definitely do a lot of work on the front here because we got a lot of space to carve out. Yeah, we're getting there. I've probably gone further than she suggests to go on that step, because looking at the picture here, I'm at least there. So let's move on to step 2 here. Start to shape the nose. This is easier with a smaller blade length, so I switched to a detail knife. Separate the top of the nose from the brim of the hat and outline the bottom of the nose, making a stop cut and then carving up to it. The deeper you make these cuts, the more personality and definition your carving will have. Make the nose bigger than you think it needs to be, so you have the material to take off in shaping and detailing phase. Continue the tapering of the hat upward, leaving plenty of room for the bend at the tip. So it's a good thing we stopped there, because we got a little bit of room to bend that tip over, which we can do on the left side or right side right now. Maybe a little bit more to the back. We got a little bit more room towards the back. We can bend it towards that direction. So, and the next step, on step 3, would be continue rounding the hat and body using the detail knife, and then clear more material from around the nose to make it stand out. Rough the nose until it begins to look slightly flat oval, and pencil in the shape of the mustache. Okay, so let's start working like it says there to define the nose, and then start defining the hat more. And I'll set that like that to keep track of it. So we're going to use our rough out knife, and you can use a rough out knife as a detail knife by choking up on the knife and holding it like so. The sharp bit, of course, is right there, so if I hold it gently between my fingers here, I can keep my fingers from getting damaged and still use it as a detail knife. You see? You follow that? So it's kind of working like so. So I'm going to carve up and over for that brim, like so. Okay? And we're going to redraw our nose a little bit, because I want that nose to be right here. And then we're going to use the tip of that knife coming straight in on that plane, straight in along that flat plane in the front, and using that knife to kind of draw up and in. Okay? And then we're going to start off to one side and carve up into that hat area, like so. We can bring that in like that. I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side, and I'm going to use a paring cut to do it over here, keeping that tip of that blade right up against that nose as I do that, like so. And so we started to free that nose a little bit. I'm going to carve up into there and carve up into here, like so. So we started to free that nose. And she's got it much rounder, much more round there than I do right now. So we can see the step we're going from here to there, and we need to finish the top of the hat there to do that completely. So let's look at rounding off the top of this hat here. Just making that incline here, like so, like it's coming up and over, you follow? And then we're going to bring in a V cut over here to do that shape. And you can look at the hat here, right? That's what we're doing. We're looking at that. I'm thinking, how did she do that? Obviously, right here in that section there, that's a V cut up in there. That's why I'm trying to recreate that by looking at the picture here. You follow? You're making those logical steps. What has to happen from step 2 to step 3 to get that look? What am I looking for? What am I doing? And that's how you use these books. And that skill is what's going to allow you to move past needing tutorials at a time. You shouldn't have to need the carving tutorials. They're great once you get to that point where you can carve something on your own. They're great because, like, oh, that's a really neat idea. I'm going to carve that thing that Doug Blinker did, or that thing that Alec Lacasse did, that thing that Carving is Fun, Dodalo, or David Young Wood Carvings, or that I did, and say, oh, that's a really fun project. I'm going to try carving that. But you don't have to watch the tutorial to do it. You could just see their Instagram post and be like, oh, wow, look at that. And then carve one of your own, because you've got that ability at that point. You can just look at it and say, oh, that's a V cut here and that's a stop cut there. And you'll know what you need to do to get to what it is they've got done, you know? Does she round that hat off in this section? Yeah, she did start to round that brim off there. So we'll start rounding that brim off a little bit. Rounding that out. Same for this side. And we're going to actually start to define this back one. I don't see the back of the carving here in the picture at all, but we're going to start to define the back of this guy a little bit. She might have said that. I might have read it that she said define all the way around the back, and I just haven't done it yet. I'm not always the best with instructions, but I'm pretty good at looking at pictures and figuring out, oh, the next step is going to be this, the next step is going to be that. I'm pretty good at that. Yeah. I am just carving up under there and stop cutting up underneath the hat. Remember, this is a hat brim, okay? So if you don't do a stop cut first, it's going to be very easy to cut up through and like lose control of your knife and cut that hat brim off. Don't do that to yourself. Use those stop cuts to your advantage. Put those stop cuts in, sink them down, and they will help your blade stop at that location, thus giving you the ability to not lose pieces of your hat as you carve. Okay, let's round that a bit more. There we are. Oh, so many chips getting stuck in my hands and everywhere. I'm not a clean freak, I swear, but sometimes when I'm doing this stuff, I just have to stop and collect all the chips. Get them all situated. Tell me I'm not the only one. Tell me in a comment down below that I'm not the only one, please. Okay. Right there. I'm just smoothing out that hat a bit. Working on shaping it right now. Trying to get it just the way I want it. And that's much better. I'm starting to like that. All right. Remember, this is the first time I've done this carving, and I wanted to make it the first time I did it on the video. I just saw the picture of it. I thought that looks like a neat one to try. I don't want you thinking that I'm like, I spent time making it perfect and figuring out how to do it perfect before I did the carving. I wanted you to see me doing it for the first time, so you saw how well someone can do it for the first time. If I can do it well, I might do terrible. We don't know. I think I'm doing all right, though. I think he's turning out okay. All right, let's start defining that nose more, because that's what she did. So I'm going to go in at a 45-degree angle along the top of that nose, and I'm going to come in and cut a stop cut for it. So you can see I put a little bit of an angle on the top of that nose, and then I'm going to try to round it off on the edges here. Let's put a deeper round off on that. Like so. Ah, look at the mess I just made. Look at this. Absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Oh my gosh. I just cleaned all these chips up too. Okay, so let's take more of this out. I want to define this nose a bit more. And she says that in there, like the more you define the nose, but the more character you get. It is definitely the case that the carvings look better when things are more defined. And see how terrible it looks up in here right now with where I cut there? We want to fix that. You don't have to leave things like that. If you leave things like that, people go, oh, that carver's not that good. If you take a little time and you fix it and it looks much better, then they look at your cards and they go, wow, that person knows what they're doing. And you may have done terrible halfway through. And you just take the time to fix it. You know, you take the time to go back in there and get it done right. And that's the difference. That is the difference. Because then, now it looks a lot better. Looks a lot better right now. Let's define that nose a little bit more with a stop cut along the edge. Carving in. Stop cut along the edge. Carving in. Well, that one didn't pop out. There we go. And you can see we got a lot of work to do around that outside there. Okay, let's look at here. So we continue rounding the hat and body, which we've pretty much done. We continue rounding the hat and body. Then clear more material from around the nose to make it stand out. Round the nose until it begins to look like a slightly flat oval and pencil in the shape of the mustache. Right? So like looking at this, her nose is so much rounder than my nose. So I could continue to go deeper with that knife here and get it a little bit more shape to it. See, when I'm looking at that, you may have thought, well, I'm probably doing fine. I could probably move on. That depth, this is where you're going to see the difference in how good your carving is or how much you like it when you're done with it versus how much you would have. Take the time. See, that it's actually said in the thing too, make your nose bigger than you might want it. I'm cutting a lot of the nose away, trying to give more depth to this thing. Make him a little rounder. Okay, that's a bit rounder of a nose. Fixing up that brim a little bit. Like so. The brim looks a little bit better. Yeah, looks a little bit better. Okay, so we're talking about round the nose so it begins to look like a slightly flat oval and pencil the shape of the mustache. So that nose is looking more like what we're going for. And my nose does not look exactly like hers. And it's not going to because I'm not Sara Barraclough. But he is going to look like a reasonable facsimile of her carving. So that's slightly penciled in. You can see that mustache goes up and around here. Number 4, establish the mustache. There is plenty of material to remove which will allow you to place the outer brim of the hat, the nose, the mustache, and the body all on different planes. The nose sticks out farther than the mustache. The mustache overlaps the body. The goal is to give the woodsman multiple layers when viewed from the side. Pencil in the shoes roughly a 1/4 inch up from the bottom. Okay, so we got room for our shoes still. Let's reread what she says here. There's plenty of material to remove, which will allow you to place the outer brim of the hat, the nose, the mustache, and the body all on different planes. The nose sticks out farther than the mustache, right there. the mustache overlaps the body, and the goal is to give the Woodsman simple layers, right? So we're gonna have that brim stick out, obviously, and that nose. We could go even deeper than we have right now, is what she's insinuating there. And she doesn't even see our carving, and she's already schooling us on what we are doing wrong. Because you can see by looking to the side that we are not going as deep as we could, right? So we could wind up taking this nose even further. And if you wanted to, you might say to yourself, oh, I should restart, that nose is too small already. We're going to do a guy with a smaller nose. I've already taken a lot out of that nose. We're just going to try to deepen around that nose even further. I don't want to restart the carving and get a bigger nose, and I also want you to see what I do on our first go with a book. You know, and it's not going to be a perfect carving because I've never done this one before. Even ones I do that you guys are like, oh, that looks great, Johnny. Man, that might have been my second or third attempt on carving I posted to Instagram. I post the good ones to Instagram. I don't post the terrible dud ones, the ones that look just absolutely just atrocious. I don't post those ones, you know. That's looking better. He's got a little bit more definition there, a little bit deeper. Take a little bit off that. No, try to soften it a little bit. It's hard to get in there with this bigger knife, but I like to do things with just a knife when I can for those following along playing the home game. Let's round out that top a bit more too right here. And take it right like so, and like so. Using that knife to kind of chip things out of there a little bit, which you shouldn't do. Don't do what I just did. That nose is looking much better now. It's much more rounded out. See what I'm saying? And we just kept working at it a little bit. You know, we kept spending more time just to get in there and to get after it and get it done. Now we can bring that mustache around like so. So we're on step 4, establish the mustache. There's plenty of material to remove, which will allow you to place the outer brim of the hat, yada, yada, yada. We already read that stuff. We can pencil in the shoes. We still have the shoes penciled in. So let's start carving in and setting in that mustache like she shows here in step 4 before we move on to the shoes in step 5. Okay, so let's start doing our mustache. Now, to do this easily, you can just block it in and then start forming it. So that's one thing you can do. If I do that, I don't need these hard corners over here, right? So I could come in on this corner here, start to set that in like that. Do the same thing over here. I always like to block things in, like putting hard straight lines a little bit wider than I need, and then curve them and start to bring them in later a little bit easier. So let's just do a V cut right here, like a pyramid cut. We go in kind of deep right there on one side, like that. And do the same thing over here. Another one like so, like that. And then we're just going to carve up and in to there and pop it out. So we got just a corner V cut there, corner V cut there, and we're starting to bring this mustache to life with just straight cuts, kind of blocking it in. And as we get that blocked in, we can start to round those things off a little bit at a time. So that mustache is still sticking out pretty far. We want to get some depth in here before we get to our shoes. So we don't need those shoes in the front right now. We might just take some of this wood off in the front, bring it in. Because like she said, we're layering this. So that front layer doesn't need to be out as far as the brim of the hat or the nose is. We can bring that in a little bit and not have to worry about it. Okay, and then we're just gonna try to come up to that mustache again, up in there, redo those stop cuts, up to the bottom of that mustache, bottom there. You notice I haven't started curving that mustache yet too much. Still using those straight lines so I can keep putting depth to it. Now right here, I'm going to come in at an angle to put the rest of this in here, right? You could come in and do a drawing kind of cut, or you can come in and do it as a V cut from one side then the other, however you want to do it. I'm going to come in at an angle that way that the side of the mustache here can be at an angle. And let me see, how did she do it? Look at that picture. We don't have a good view of the side of that mustache. Just like we don't have a good view of the back of the carving here. And you don't need, you can imagine what the back of the carving is. The back of the carving is pretty simple, right? You're not getting every single angle because it's not a YouTube video. It's a book. Books have pictures, and pictures aren't always all-encompassing, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can just make the logical next step. So basically just multiple ways of doing this cut here. Multiple ways we can go about getting this done, and we're just going to pick one of them that works for me right now. So I can do this cut in that angle right here. And then I can do the other one, like I was talking about, just come up like this right here, all the way up to the hat brim, and pop it out. And there, we get that mustache coming back up and around a little bit, you know? Look at the same thing over here. Come at that angle, push the tip in real good right there. Excuse me, burping. And then a little bit of paring action to follow that right up to the hat brim. And we'll stop cut to pop that out, like so. We can bring that in deeper as we go, like so. And so we got a lot of depth to that mustache now. Let's start trying to round this thing off a bit. No matter what I do, it looks a little bit flat plane. Styles that you learn, I think you spend time with, they really just, they bleed through everything that you do a bit, right? Okay, so we've got a little bit more progress with him. His hat brim is coming up over that nose, and the mustache comes out pretty good. We got some good depth around the eyes. Let's look here. What she's talking about the next step is, we're looking pretty close to that. We don't have the cheeks set in. I don't see where she says about separating the cheeks out. I might have missed that. Around the nose figures looks like slightly a flat oval pencil shape. Okay, it doesn't say anything about the cheeks, but we can see those right there, right? And that the top of that mustache needs to be defined. And obviously, her hat comes down further along the sides there than mine does. It's rounder. I didn't even notice that until just now. And that's me not paying attention to the picture as much as I should. I should have brought that hat down more, or push that nose up more maybe. Either way, we're going to put those cheeks in about like so to flesh out the top of that mustache too. So that'll be our cheeks. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in at about a 45-degree angle down and just do that right around there. And then try to mimic the other direction from there. Knock all that stuff out. And then we'll bring a more sheer angle up to it, like so. Okay. So same thing down to there. Right up to the nose. Right like so. And that's starting to look more like what we're looking for. Again, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be exactly like what she does, but it's going to be close because we're designing something, or not designing something. We are carving something that someone else has designed just following a book. They're not here talking to us. We're not hearing the words. Okay. So we need two little feet here. And we need to leave enough room. We need to leave enough room for a belt buckle right there as well. Okay. So our feet are going to be like so. Right here, we're going to work on step 5. And it says, follow the lines you just made with extended V-cuts to separate the shoes from the robe. The deeper you make the cuts, the more dimension you give the overall look. Then draw the belt and buckle in the space between the mustache and the feet. If the shoe or mustaches are bigger than expected, you can tuck the buckle under the mustache and extend it around the body as usual. So, we don't want to tuck the buckle. I like the look of that buckle, so let's just be careful. And we're going to go ahead and put some V-cuts in here, okay? So I'm going to come in, look, on this angle here, probably like a 45-degree angle around, and then I'm going to do the opposite direction around the outside and create that V-cut channel in a circle right here. So just nice and gentle as I come up and around, turn the carving, and pop back out. And we'll see if I can keep that looking as good as I think I can. Bring that right around and down. That's a good start to that little foot. We want to open that up a bit more, I think, but we're also going to make it to where I think that outer edge here is going to come down a bit. We have the shoe popping out a bit more on the edge. That's not the way she did it. I think I like that. And that's another thing about these kind of things with the books. You can adjust things on the fly as you want to. Like, what do you think looks better? Do you like the look of this? Do you want to do something a little bit different? Then do something a little bit different. Change it up. All right, let's start to connect the other side. A 45-degree cut. 45-degree cut. There we go. Not terrible. It's not as pretty as the ones that she makes in her photos. But here's the other thing to remember, right? She is taking photos for a book. You know she spent a lot of time making that carving for these photos look as good as she possibly could, because it's going in a book. It's about to be immortalized. She spent a lot of time on this guy right here. I am absolutely certain that wasn't just a spur of the moment Willie just kind of throw them together and get them done like the guy I'm doing here. Okay, this is kind of spur of the moment, first time carving this figure. I'm just doing it. I'm not trying to make him absolutely perfect. I'm just trying to do him and show how I would follow these instructions to do him. Right? So don't get discouraged if you see this and think, oh my God, that is so unbelievable. Like, the level that I'm seeing in this book for whatever book you're reading. Don't think it's so unbelievable that you can't accomplish it. That is something that this person who's teaching carving spent a lot of time to do to get just right so that they could make a book. And we don't often think about the fact that other people, when they're doing things, are looking to present themselves in a positive light, right? Because Sara is a great carver. And if you don't follow her on Instagram, go over there and check her out. Her Instagram page is full of really just absolutely stellar carvings. I mean, I love following her to see all the stuff that she makes. And they're all fantastic. So do that. But she took her time on this to make sure she presented herself in the best possible light. And of course, you would. I would do the exact same thing if I was making a book. Any figure I put in that book would be the best I could possibly make that figure. I am not at the point yet, I think, where I could do a book. But I'd like to get there someday. I definitely would. Alrighty. So we got our little feet cut in a little bit. Now, what I want to do is I want to have, we got that line kind of brought back to the feet, right? What I'd like to do is I would like to make them undercut a bit, the way she has those, which I don't have going on as much. So let's try to do this a bit better. I am going to try to really make a deep cut there. like so. So you can see the amount of shadow up underneath that foot there now, right? I'm going to try to continue that around the other side as well over here. Just getting in a sheer angle and going in real deep. Not real deep. I mean, take a look how deep that knife is, right? It's not crazy deep, but it's mostly just a very sheer angle. So I did the wider angle, now I'm doing a real sheer angle coming in, and now I'm going to come in straight along the top of the carving. The added bonus is it cleans up that line on the top of the foot, right? I don't mind one foot's a little bit bigger right now. I could fix that. Or you can just say that's the quirkiness of this little fella. He's gonna have one foot a little bigger than the other, and I kind of like that. We're gonna leave one foot a little bit taller than the other, one a little bit smaller, and I like that. And that's the kind of things that that'll happen. That's fun. Let's just do a little V cuts right here to widen that out. If something doesn't pop out the first time, cut that V cut again until it does. And start to look better. Now there's really rough shatter going through here. I'm gonna smooth that out a bit. On this side as well. Smoothing it out. And like so. Let's take that off the edge of that. That's looking a lot better. Okay, so we're looking good. We're looking pretty good. Let's see here. She wants us to draw the belt next. So that we're still on step 5 right here. So we're going to draw the belt and we're going to start setting that in. So we're going to put a little buckle. I'm wearing glasses, so it's hard to see sometimes. I got to take the glasses off to see the picture, but I put the glasses on to read the words. Because I've gotten to that point in my life where that's what we're doing. So we're going to draw a little belt buckle right here. A little square. You know what? Let's do ourselves a favor. Let's flatten this out here in the front a little bit first, because it's easier to draw on then, and we don't need that plane to be rough like it was looking for this next portion of the carving. So having it flatter will benefit us. A little bit of a wide buckle. Is that too wide? That might be too wide, I think. I don't know. We need to be able to put a smaller section inside of it. Yeah, maybe it needs to be taller. Let's do that. Let's make it a little bit taller. Here's the other thing too that you don't have to see in even my tutorials, because I'm doing part of the drawing before I do the video. There's often a lot of thought and then rethought when you're drawing things out for the first time. That looks better. And then from there we'll go right around with the little belt. You know, and you can make this belt as wide or as thin as you want to. So you can go a little bit wider, make it just underneath the top of the buckle. Like so, around. Like that, a thick little belt, you know. And bring it right around. We'll do that rest of that later. Let's start cutting in the buckle right here. Put a little stop cut action going on right there. And then right up to it. I'm being very gentle because I could cut out more than I want to. I'm gonna take that out right there, smooth it out a little bit. All right, so let's get a stop cut in on the opposite side, that side. Stop cut along the top. I'm gonna put the tip of the blade to the left side of the buckle and push that in. And then I'm gonna turn around, get the tip of the blade to the right side of the buckle, and push that in like so. Then we're going to carve up. Because we want that buckle to stand out farther than the belt. You follow? Now the buckle stands out just a little bit farther than the belt does. And the other side as well. Carve right at that mustache. And we still get those squarish planes of the mustache here, which are still a benefit to us. Now, how are we going to get in here? We can try to come in like so. That belt buckle is just a little tall to do this easily with the size of blade that I have. And this is the problem folks can run into sometimes. So I'm going to try to do it a corner at a time, like so. And then up in there. So I'm kind of levering in each corner individually to get a little bit at a time and stop cutting as needed. Just to get some depth to that buckle. Yeah, looking good. Looking alrighty. Looking just fine. Okay. Let's take off those spots where I caught that knife blade on the mustache. Okay, now we're going to try to do the inside of this little guy. So we're going to do some stop cuts. Try to barely move that down. Now, on one side, I kind of drew that line on the top side. On the bottom side, I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to press in from the top, and I'm going to do that. Ooh, being careful, because I already broke that. You see that? That's what you got to worry about when pressing from the top like that. Push that up in. So if you keep the blade just thinly in there, you can draw it across and chip it out just ever so slightly. But the thickness of that blade will do the same thing to you that it just did to me, and I know better, and I did it anyway. We'll push that wood apart, and if you got a thin, delicate piece, that's just going to come right apart on you. And those are little lessons that you learn from doing those things, or that you try to learn. Obviously, I didn't learn that well enough, but I'll probably use a little bit of glue on that little fella, and I'll put that piece back in that belt buckle right. So, yeah. Okay, now I have lost a little bit of the stuff I had around the shoes. I'm going to start setting in the belt here. Start curving that off. I'm going to start curving off this backside too, I think. And it doesn't say anywhere that that's the next step, but it kind of looks like that is. Add stock cuts, separate the belt from the body, and then carve up to them on the top and bottom so the belt protrudes slightly. And then it's adding the mustache texture, and then dip the carving in boiled linseed oil. So, yeah, we're about to be done with the outside of the mustache and the belt for the steps 6 and 7. Just carve the shoe, add the belt, add the mustache, and like there's a lot left to do. These are the next logical steps. So what are we going to do to finish him up? We're going to act like it's a kind of like a robe going all the way down. I'm going to take these corners here off the back. Okay. And then we're going to take those saw marks off, because if you've watched anything that I do, I know those saw marks take paint and stain differently. I'm just going to get rid of them. And I'm going to smooth all this stuff out. It started to split on me. That's looking a little bit better. Let's round off this hard corner a bit. Okay, he's starting to look like a fun little character. Now let's continue that belt. Now we got all that done. So we want to have that belt at about the same height. Maybe go a little bit lower along the back. Like so. And the bottom side height of it. Right like that. All the way around and lined up. Okay. So now this is pretty simple here. We're just going to be putting stop cuts in and carving down to it. We don't have to sink these in real deep at all. We're just putting a little bit of depth to set that belt apart from everything else. Yeah. Right like so. Alrighty. Underside there. Continue that around. Something about the way that my arm is sitting is causing that hand to go to sleep on me. I don't know if at a certain age you get to where that starts happening more often than it used to, but that has been happening more and more lately, where the hand can go to sleep depending on how I'm using it. I think it might be how I sleep, but I'll figure it out. Okay, continuing that around. If it's too hard to push, consider stopping and reevaluating. Do I need to resync my stop cuts? Am I trying to cut off more than I need to? What exactly is going on? What's happening? If you're watching this video too at this point, I also want to say, hey, if you like this video, if you like the content that I'm doing, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. The subscribing to the channel thing, it really does help me out. I'm trying to grow the channel, get as big as I can, try to help spread wood carving to as many folks as I can. But I can't do it without a little bit of help. And I would really appreciate that little bit of help in the sign of a like and a share, a like and a subscribe. Head on Instagram too, because you're gonna go over there anyway to go follow Sarah. Give me a follow as well if you haven't already, and we can see each other carvings and encourage one another over there, which is always fun. And if you share carvings you've done from videos, or even if you do this one, share that. Tag me in it. Let me see it. I want to see how you did. I want to see that you did better than me. I want to see that you did a better carving than I did, right? Take your time, do it better than the one that I've got done. Make him look cooler than mine, and do something fun. Add something different. Maybe I'll add a pipe to him. I don't know. We'll put like a little pole, a little holder, and put a little pipe in his mouth. That would be very on brand for me, wouldn't it? Someone mentioned the other day that I they said, I didn't know you smoked a pipe. I'm like, man, my profile picture has had a pipe in it for years. I don't know what you're talking about. How you didn't know? You didn't look. There we go. I'm just rounding out the top of that belt right now as I go around there, just cleaning things up a bit. There we go. And then we'll start working on the mustache here in a moment. Okay, so that belt looks pretty good all the way around there. I don't love the buckle because I'm not trying to use a detail knife, which would have been a smaller blade. I'm trying to use a rough out knife, and I am no Chris Hammock. The stuff he can do with a single blade is absolutely amazing. Blows my mind, I'll tell you that. Blows my mind. But yeah. Okay, let's look at this here. Add the mustache texture. If you have a small 1/16 2mm micro V tool, it will make the job easier. But you can also use a regular detail knife. Make small V cuts, fanning down and out from the center of the nose. Give them a slightly random look. Then add the buckle to the front of the belt. Oh, you should add the buckle at this step. At this point, do an overall inventory of any round, flat areas and add final details. Okay, so let us look at, actually, there's the belt buckle not defined yet. And she did not do that as deep. She barely went into depth in there. And just barely doing that still provided enough depth for you to really get the idea of that. So don't try to do what I did with the belt buckle. Pay attention to what the picture is showing. You'll see that many mistakes that you might have made, like I made there, she is showing you right there. You don't have to do it as deep. If I would have paid attention, I would have seen that. So that's the thing about books. Like the first one you do might not be perfect because you might not pick up all of the details that you're looking at because you're not talking to someone, but it's still going to help you. And you shouldn't do a carving you're trying to improve, right? You shouldn't just do one. You should do this like if I was trying to improve this carving, I'd do them 3 or 4 times to get more practice with them, to get better at them. And that fourth one would be really good, far better than the first one that I do, So, all right, let's texture that beard. You can see she's starting up here in the middle and then just bringing it out and down. So kind of, for like mustaches grow from the middle lip out, So like so, like so, like so. And most of them are coming down, up. So let's see what I can get done here with a big rough out knife. Let's see what I can get done with an arm that's falling asleep on me. Let's put a little V-notch in a few random spots as well into the mustache. A V-notch, a V-notch. Those notches will just add a little bit of depth as well. Help you to break things up a bit. You can see those notches there starting to add to the carving. And I have been carving since November or so of 2023. It's not that long. But even with that amount of carving, I still need to practice my knife work. I need to get better at this because I see carvers more experienced than me doing amazing things with just a knife. It makes me realize how much better I need to get with my knife. If you're thinking that you've got things figured out, oh, my friend, we probably don't. We probably just think we got things figured out. But some of these folks are doing so much better in so many ways. Like amazing things with just a knife. Okay, so there's the detailing that I put in the beard. And it's not terrible. Not terrible at all. So that is our little guy. Done up like the book. And he doesn't look perfect. Absolutely not. I could have rounded that hat brim more up. I could have made the nose bigger. I could have done the belt buckle a little bit better. Right? I could have had the robe come down between the feet a little bit better if I wanted to match that a little bit better. But he is definitely my version of him rather than just Sarah's version. But I think he turned out pretty well. I think I'm pretty happy with him. Trying to think what else I can add. Now, that's just knife only, right? Let's say that I want to add a few details. So let's look at a V tool here. Here's the number 11, Stew by Gouge. So a little 11, right? To add details, you can do little things like put some indentations around the belt. And then on the top side at the same spot. And that'll make it look like the belt is kind of cinched up around his waist. So a little detail like that. I like these kind of little details. I do these all the time. If you've seen on like wizards and anyone with a belt, I'll put little indentation lines like that around the belt. To give that effect like it's pulled tight. I kind of like that, right? You don't have to go as deep as I did, because with a number 11, it's got a very deep, right? There we go. I can show a better on that portion. It's a very deep gouge, okay? Very deep. And so if you just use it very shallowly, you can get not a very deep cut. You don't have to go hard with it. And just get a little shallow kind of thing going on there. And there we go. Much more simple. It gets a little small one. Gets a little bit different depth. A little bit different. And we could even do like one of those up in the front or side right here, you know. Make it look like it's pulling tighter on that corner. Like so. And little things like this will separate the carving a bit more. It's not like people won't know that Sarah didn't do that one when they look at it. But little things like that will make it more my own, more me. And there might be some little things that you might be able to do to make a carving more you. You should do those things. You should, especially if you like the way they look. Take a moment, add those little details. This is your carving. She's just showing you some designs that you can use. And there's definitely room to grow here. There's things you can grow on with her by learning from her. So that is a quick and easy carving that we've done now. And yeah, I'm going to stop picking at it. And I'm going to go wash him up. Okay, so I have thoroughly washed this guy. He has been washed and scrubbed, and you can see he turned out pretty good. Washing all those little fuzzies off of him and scrubbing him with a toothbrush really shows you a lot of like how he turned out and how he actually looks versus like what he is. It can be deceptive is what I'm saying. So there he is. Excess to drip off and wipe it down with clean paper towels. Dip the carving in boiled linseed oil. Note, dispose of used paper towels according to manufacturer's instructions on the container of oil, as oil-soaked rags can spontaneously combust. Paint the clothing base coats. For the hat, mix 2 drops of light avocado, 1 drop of house or dark cream, and about 15 to 20 drops of water. If it's too light for your liking, add more paint. For the robe, mix 2 drops of midnight blue with 15 drops of water. Paint in washes until you're satisfied with colors. Now, I would not have been able to decipher that at one point. Paint in washes. What she means there, and she's actually going over it here, is you paint a very light, watered down color over it, and then wait and see when it dries. And then once it dries, you do a second coat to darken it a little bit more, or another coat to darken it a little bit more, till you get the desired color. Dip the tip of the paintbrush into the true cap of red and then wipe that onto your paint palette. Add a few drops of water. It should be extremely watery red. Apply that to the top of the nose and the cheeks. Paint the mustache with watered down burnt umber. Paint the belt and shoes. I use 1 drop of bittersweet chocolate mixed with 12 drops of water. The belt and the shoes should be relatively light to mimic a weathered look. Paint the buckle with a slightly thinned metallic gold. Let dry and seal as desired. I prefer a natural finish, such as Howard's Feed and Wax. Okay, that's a pretty simple paint scheme there. She's only got a few colors, and yeah. So I'm going to paint him up myself. I'm not going to show you the painting part in this video. We're just doing this as a book review. But I just want to show you that it's clear that she's got all the instructions that you would need to mimic and repeat what she's done. And you can pick up a lot here about how she does painting, what she's doing with painting, because like some tutorials on the web you're going to find don't have painting tutorials, what they're doing, but this is a very experienced person giving you their tips on how they would paint this carving, what colors specifically they're using, and then of course in the beginning of the book here, her preferred acrylic paints and details about her preferences there, boiled linseed oil on the same thing, and all of that is right there in the book. So I'm going to paint him up, and I'll show you what it looks like in a moment. So we got Shrimpy all done and painted up. I painted him according to Sarah's instructions using colors that I thought were closest matched to what she had that I had available at the same as well. I think he just turned out fantastic. And I mean, you can see like he turned out, whoa, look at him facing forward. He turned out pretty well for like what he's supposed to look for. I mean, he turned out pretty darn well, I think, following her instructions for painting. The blue I had was a different shade of blue, and in the light right now it looks kind of greenish, so that's the thing. And I used bronze for the belt because I had a metallic bronze, but I didn't have metallic gold. But outside of that, he turned out pretty well. He definitely looks like what he's supposed to look like, so I'm pretty happy with him, and I'm going to keep him on my desk, I think, from now on, because I really enjoy that. Now, we talked about at the beginning of the video, we talked about doing a giveaway. So how do you win a giveaway? How do you win this particular giveaway? And well, to do that, first off, I want to say thank you to Fox Chapel Publishing and WoodCarving Illustrated for sending us this books and sponsoring today's video. I really sincerely and wholeheartedly appreciate it, because having a chance to do videos like this where I go over books and show them and showcase them and have a chance to give them away is fantastic. And without them, I wouldn't be able to do that. So thank you very much for that. So how do you enter to win the books that are on display in this video? Well, comment down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then comment down below and say, Shrimpy is king. If you say Shrimpy is king in the comments down below, I'll know you want to be entered to win, and that's the entry that I'll take, all right? So I can't ship internationally because I can't afford to ship internationally. Some of those shippings, like some countries, like 40, 50 bucks, and I can't afford that. However, I can ship to the States. So you can't enter if you're international unless you're willing to pay for shipping. If you are, please feel free to enter as well. And anyone in the continental United States, just Shrimpy is king, and we'll have you entered to win the contest, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. Head over to Instagram and give Sarah a follow over there, because she's fantastic and she needs more followers. Follow me as well while you're over there. And outside of that, thank you again to Fox Chapel Publishing and WoodCarving Illustrated for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.